Hi, I'm Eric Linares, Executive Director at Third Mill. Thanks for walking with us through Holy Week. It means a lot to have you on this journey with us. Yesterday, we reflected on the moment Jesus cleared the temple and he confronted the fraud and exploitation that had taken over the outer courts. In doing so, he restored it to what it was always meant to be, a house of prayer. But do you know what he did next? He healed the sick, and then he sat down and began to teach. We don't often focus on this part of Holy Week, but it's significant. In the final days before going to the cross, Jesus spent most of his time teaching. And it makes me think, if I knew my time was short, what would I want to say? What would I focus on? Jesus had already been teaching for 3 years, and in this final week, he didn't slow down. In fact, Matthew chapters 21 through 25, we see him lean in even more. He told a series of parables, clear, direct, and deeply personal. He told a story about a man with 2 sons. One said, "I won't go," but ended up working in the vineyard. The other said, "I'll go," but never followed through. He told of a master who leased his vineyard to tenants, and when the time came to gather the harvest, they killed the master's servants and even the master's son. And he described a wedding feast where a guest showed up unprepared and was thrown out. The Pharisees knew Jesus was talking about them, and they didn't like it because he was saying they were like the first son who wouldn't obey, like the tenants who rejected the master's authority, like the unprepared guest who wasn't ready for the king's invitation. But Jesus didn't stop there. He talked about paying taxes to Caesar, and he also reminded us that our hearts ultimately belong to God. He talked about the resurrection of the dead, and he emphasized that the greatest commandment is to love God, and the second is like it, to love our neighbor. He even spoke about the end of time and pleaded with the people to be ready. Jesus didn't spend his final week quietly. In his great love, he chose to say what mattered most, clearly, boldly, and with urgency. So this week, as you reflect on Jesus' sacrifice, I want to encourage you to spend some time in those final teachings. They're not just lessons, they're intentional, powerful words from our Savior, and they're worth returning to.